Welcome. I'm Michael Stoddart, and I'm here with Dr. Jordan Nguyen, who is founder of Psychonetic and an acclaimed thought leader. Jordan, thank you for your time.
That's all right, thanks for having me.
You've expressed concern regarding the speed of future technology adoption. You speak about how we're in the midst of all these disruptive technologies coming at once: machine language, AI, VR, biomed, blockchain, cryptocurrencies. Can you share your view on this rate of change of technology and how it's affecting work today and the future of work?
Yeah, well, look, the rate of change is fast. I mean, I think everyone knows that, but it also brings about a lot of fear. So what I'm wanting to do is to uncover where are those opportunities, what are the things that we should be looking forward to. As the world is changing and that rate of change is just so rapid, it's only going to keep increasing. We're standing at the verge of exponential growth. And that's because of these, well, some people like to attribute it to people, some people like to attribute it to technology. It's a combination. But what the technologies do is they are a tool. They make things possible. They make our dreams and ideas possible. And so having more tools that more people can access is allowing people to, especially entrepreneurs, to start to take on big dreams, big goals. And so what we're seeing is innovations, and innovation's been a hot word for a long time. I mean, it's lasted a lot longer than your average hot word of the hour. Now, innovation is basically bringing ideas, methodologies, algorithms, technologies from the past and converging them. We converge them to solve problems we haven't been able to solve before or to solve problems in a new way. And so what we're seeing because of the technology, because of these sort of innovations, we're seeing changes that we haven't seen before at a rate we haven't seen before. And so one of those big things is, so we listed out some of those many disruptive technologies, some of those many innovations that are changing everything. They change the way that we live and the way that we work. And so what we need to do is to try and figure out where are the opportunities here, how is it going to impact our lives, how is it going to impact our work, but what sort of opportunities, what sort of possibilities arise as a result? Where can we go into the future? And rather than just taking in the technologies going, we're going to use this and pull it into our businesses, we need to find out why. And so that's why I think what we've seen today as well, we're seeing a bigger dialogue into what makes us human, what's our drivers, what are our purposes behind the ideas that we try to tackle.
So do you see these technologies synthesizing into one or remaining separate and rising and falling as separate technologies?
That is a great question. So when it comes to the different types of technologies, I was saying before, in the past we've had different disruptive technologies, we've had different disruptions, different innovations that were so much further apart, so we learned to adopt those one at a time, bring them into our lives, change the world bit by bit. Now we're faced with so many all at once. Major innovations come out of the convergence of these technologies. So sometimes seemingly unrelated fields will be brought together in science and technology and innovation. Will bring together different fields that are sometimes seemingly unrelated to solve problems in a new way. But quite often that comes back to what problem are we solving, what tools are available to help us create solutions, and what is the solution or the pathways of those solutions that we want to go down. So what we're going to see in the big changes to come are convergences of these technologies that we're still trying to wrap our heads around. So if you take a couple of major disruptions, if you take cloud computing, nanotechnology, biomedical technology and robotics and put them together, you might find a solution that people still haven't wrapped their heads around the individual components getting there, but you might have a very drastic solution there that might solve a problem that we haven't been able to solve before.
You made an interesting comment, I'll quote it to you. We always focus on what we lose. Can you expand on that and what you feel are the things that we risk losing or have lost, and conversely what we would gain from technology in our workplace?
Yeah, that's great. I think it's an interesting human condition, isn't it? We don't like losing things. We don't like taking backward steps. Quite often we look to the things that we can gain and we can take forward steps. But if you lose something that you've already had, that's when you notice it. So as a society, it's the same sort of thing. What we tend to focus on when fear is being propagated based on technological advancement, what we focus on is the things that we're losing. that's where the headlines come out with, this is how many jobs are going to disappear. This factory is closing down, so this is how many jobs are being lost here. Now, what happens with change is you inherently lose jobs and you create new ones as well. Work shifts and it changes. And our society, as a result, shifts and changes. So that is itself something to wrap our heads around, to not focus on the one common threat, the one common enemy of what we're going to lose, but also looking at what we can gain. What sort of future are we going to move into? What can we gain from these advancements? And, and if you look at the thing is to wrap your heads around, to wrap your head around these advancements that are coming, we need to look at individual stories that have actually happened or that are happening now. We need to look at individual stories that we can then relate to. And I've utilised the story of what I saw in China of drones, artificial intelligence being used to somewhat displace jobs, but those jobs just changed in a way that we weren't expecting. To see farmers go from spraying their own crops to drones doing that, well, it displaced the farmers a little bit, but they started going out and teaching the artificial intelligence what are the trees, what are the fences, what are the boundaries, so that the drones could go out and do the spraying of the crops. It there, in that particular instance, would improve the health, because the farmers weren't inhaling the chemicals that they're spraying on their crops. But at the same time, we were seeing people who weren't technical teaching an artificial intelligence. So there is a displacement of jobs, and that's the thing. We see changes that are coming. There will be jobs that will be lost. There will be things that we'll lose in society. We'll gain so much as well. And so if I'm going to sort of pull back to a different topic that we've touched on in these discussions today, the students, the kids of today, how are we getting them ready for these jobs of the future? Because it's going to be a different landscape, isn't it? So we've got many jobs that exist today that won't exist by the time they hit the workforce, and we have many jobs that will exist then that don't exist today. So we can't just focus on what we're going to lose. We've got to also focus on what we can gain.
So to wrap up, I want to touch on that. The word work, you have a dislike of the word work, paid work versus an experience.
Yeah.
Expand for us the definition of work versus employment, and how the future will affect work versus employment, if they're the same thing or they're two different things.
Well, I guess employment is generally when you are employed by someone else. You wouldn't call it employment as much if you are the person who, say, set up a company and that's your company. Work is what you do. That's how you're creating value for a company, for an entity, for whatever vision you might have, depending on whether you're running a company, you're running your own company, you're working for someone else. It's always different, and we've seen very differing opinions of what even work means. For me, it's not that I don't like the word work, it's that I would like there to be a different word that encapsulates what work can be when you love it. Because I know many people who have pursued, and I'm one of them, who has pursued dreams, who have pursued what we're interested in, and then turn that into our work. And then work becomes a different thing. People ask me quite often, when do you take holidays and what do you do for your holidays? And I'm saying, well, the thing is, I love my work so much that taking holidays is kind of stressful, because I want to be out doing the stuff that I love doing, that I do every day, which is varying, it's different. And there's no word for that. When you love your work, we've all been told you won't work a day in your life if you absolutely love what you do, but we don't have another word for that. And I think that's what I was trying to get across, is that I don't see work as your standard definition of work. I see it as a way of being able to contribute to society. This is my identity, as we were hearing before as well, but it's very much an identity thing for me. I want to see the world change. I want to see the world advance into a future that we all want to live in, that we actually would be proud of. And to get there, we need to work towards it. So they're all the stepping stones towards the future that I want to live in.
Well, some wonderful optimistic thoughts. Thank you for your time, Dr. Jordan Nguyen. Thank you very much.
Cheers.